Good morning. Today we are going to make oatmeal chocolate chip banana cookies. This is one of our favorites in our home. We love everything chocolatey chippy, and it's a great way to sneak in fruits into some snacks for the kids, for our family. So welcome back to In the Kitchen with Grace. If you're new, welcome. You'll find all sorts of wonderful, easy, homemade recipes. And if you're returning, thank you so much. Let's jump in. All right, so for our ingredients, they're going to be listed in the description below, but we're going to need 2 bananas. We're going to need an egg. We're going to need oats, flour, white sugar, brown sugar, baking powder, baking soda, butter, vanilla, salt, your chocolate chips. And I think that's everything. Let's just jump in. So I'm going to start by doing my bananas. You want to use 2 good-sized bananas. Now, normally when I bake with bananas, I want them to be pretty ripe, but it's all right if they're not completely overripe, so don't stress. You don't have to wait till your bananas are completely brown in the peel before you can use them. So I'm going to put the bananas in a bowl. You can use a fork to mash your bananas if you want. I am going to use our potato masher. Works pretty well. And we're going to just mash away. Mashed. And I'm going to go ahead and just, since we have, I call the bananas a wet ingredient, a liquid ingredient, because when they mush down, they get soft and liquidy. So I'm going to go ahead and do all of my liquid ingredients in one bowl and do my dry ingredients in another, and then we'll mix them together. So I need a teaspoon of vanilla. You hear me talking about this all the time. Thing about being a baker or a cook, just because you have a recipe doesn't mean you have to follow it word for word. I happen to love vanilla, and so I usually add just a little extra. All right. So if you have a favorite ingredient you like to add, you can add a little bit more than what the recipe calls for. Don't want to go too crazy, but it's always fun to add a little here and there of your favorite things. Okay, we need an egg. Right there. And then we need 2 tablespoons of butter. Now I'm just using stick butter. This is actually sweet cream salted butter. This happens to be my favorite butter, so I use it in pretty much everything that I make. And then I'm actually going to go put this into a little bowl and sort of half melt it in the microwave. My butter has not been sitting out, so it's definitely hard butter. And you really want to have kind of room temperature softened butter to mix into your wet ingredients. All right, I have my butter kind of partially melted. We're gonna go ahead and pour that in there. We'll give this a little stir. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and do the dry ingredients. I'm gonna start with the flour, and we want 1 cup of flour, which seems like not very much when you're making cookies, but your bananas is a good filler, and so it kind of takes the place of your flour a little bit. And then we need oats. These are oatmeal banana chocolate chip cookies. So I'm gonna get my oats here. And I'm going to do 1.5 cups of oats. 1.5. And then we need a 1/4 cup of regular white sugar. And I'm just gonna eyeball it here. I'm using my cup to measure, but you want a 1/4 cup of white sugar. And then we need a 1/2 cup of brown sugar. I'm gonna just kind of set that in there. And usually with brown sugar, you kind of pack it in just a little bit. That's about good. Dump that in there. And then we are going to do a 1/2 teaspoon of both baking soda and baking powder. And then we need a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, just good old table salt. I have made cookies with sea salt before too, so you could totally add sea salt if you wanted to instead, but I like the smaller grains of regular table salt. And I believe that is all of our dry ingredients minus the chocolate chips, which we add in last. So I'm gonna grab my spoon, mix the dry ingredients together first. If you like bananas and chocolate chips, you guys, I have an amazing, amazing cherry banana chocolate chip banana bread. It is phenomenal. So I will link to that recipe. That is a huge breakfast winner in our home, especially for my son. If you have picky kids, he will not eat just plain old bananas. If I put bananas in banana bread or into these cookies, he will just wolf them down. So as a busy mom, I'm always looking for ways to get the kids to eat more fruits and vegetables, however I can sneak them in. Okay, that's good and mixed. I'm gonna go ahead and add our wet mixture here. Now, I'll tell you, if your family likes peanut butter, you could add a couple tablespoons of peanut butter to this recipe, and it's delicious as well. Or you could add some nuts, some walnuts, or some pecans if you wanted to. I want to make sure you get all of the dry ingredients incorporated there. The bananas are very, very moist, so it just kind of soaks right into the flour. I've got a little bit at the bottom here, so I'm trying to work that in. These are very, very moist cookies. It is fall, so it is definitely baking season for me. And let's see, I did peach cobbler muffins, which got ate in like 2 days late recently. And coming up soon, I'm doing our protein balls. If you guys have ever heard of the energy protein balls, we love to make those in our household. We do all sorts of varieties. So I have those recipes coming up yet this fall. I'm very excited for that. We are ready for chocolate chips. And this recipe calls for 1 cup of chocolate chips. I'm gonna share a little secret with you guys. If you are ever just getting your package of chocolate chips, 1 package of chocolate chips is about 2 cups worth. And I was down to about half a bag. And as you can see, it's almost exactly a cup. So 1 bag of chocolate chips is about 2 cups worth of chocolate chips. Just so you know. We are gonna pour that in. Oh yeah. Mix these together. And my oven is preheating to 400 degrees. So every oven is a little different. My oven, if you're unsure of how your oven bakes, always set it a little bit lower temperature than what your recipe says. If you know your oven pretty well, my oven tends to cook things too fast if I set it too high. So I like to do my cooking and baking at a little bit of a lower temperature and let it bake a little bit longer. So mine's set at 400 degrees, and these will probably take maybe 8 minutes or so to bake in the oven. And I am going to get my cookie sheet, and we're gonna put these on there and get them into the oven. My first round of cookies is ready to go in the oven. I'm going to let them cook for about 7 or 8 minutes, and then I will check them. This recipe is going to make probably close to about 20 cookies or so, and I cannot wait to eat these. They're going to be so good. The oatmeal banana chocolate chip cookies are done. I have them in a dish ready for the kids when they get home from school to start snacking on. So yummy. Thank you all for watching today, and we will see y'all next time. Welcome back to In the Kitchen with Grace. Today we are doing a fall favorite, apple crisp. I don't know about you, but every fall our family makes a trip to the apple orchard. Even though we have 2 apple trees in our own backyard, it's just tradition. Our kids are getting older now, and we still make that trip every fall. So we have a whole basket of apples here. We've already made plain old cinnamon apples. My daughter loves those, but my husband and I really like the apple crisp, and so that's what we're gonna do today. For this recipe, you're gonna need 5 to 6 good-sized apples. You can see I have small and large apples, so the equivalent of about 6 good-sized apples is what you're gonna want. You're gonna need a little bit of brown sugar. You're gonna need some cinnamon. We're gonna need lemon juice, I should say. Going to use some flour, some oats, and a little bit of white sugar as well. So to get started, obviously, we need to peel our apples. Actually, I'm gonna put the plate, I'm gonna show you a little trick. I have this apple peeler here, and I prefer to peel apples this way. My daughter absolutely loves to use this as well. It just makes peeling your apples super easy. If you don't have one of these, you can just use a regular old vegetable peeler. Some people actually prefer to leave the peels on their apples. I personally don't mind either way, but we're gonna go ahead and, it's been a while. I only use this like twice a year. Gotta always remember how it works. You just stick your apple on there and you start spinning and it will peel. I like to put the plate or a paper towel underneath. Catches the peels really easy. It makes it super easy to throw those away. This also slices your apples as you go. Saves you a little bit of work. Core comes right out. Love it. So we have our apples all peeled and halfway sliced. The thing I love about using that apple peeler is it spiral slices them this way, so then you literally just cut them once, maybe twice. This happens to be a pretty big apple, so I'm going to cut that one twice. Works perfectly. It just makes it really quick, really easy. This is a kid-friendly recipe. It's something your kids can totally help you make in the kitchen. My 11-year-old, she can pretty much make this by herself. And with that apple peeler though, and with any kind of vegetable peeler, you do want to make sure that yourself and any youngsters, they're using a little bit of caution because there are sharp parts to both the regular peeler and your apple core. All right, so we've got our apple slices here. They're not actually going to all fit back in this bowl, I don't think. These are big apples. I think some of them were Honey Crisp. I honestly don't remember what kind of apples we have in our yard. One of them was sweeter and one of them was meant for baking. Okay, good enough. We're gonna just scoot that all to the side and get our mixing bowl and start with our dry ingredients. So, we are going to start with the oats. I like to start with the oats. And the recipe that I use, it calls for 3/4 cup. With this whole recipe, use common sense, use your eyes, because your apple sizes really can vary. So you might need a little bit more of these ingredients, you may need a little less, so just kind of gauge based off your quantity of apples that you have. We like a little bit of the crunchy stuff on top. So I put in a little bit more oats than the 3/4 cup. And then we need a cup of brown sugar. I'm using light brown sugar. Use whatever brown sugar that you want or that you've got on hand. This is going to be about perfect to use up this bag. A little extra doesn't hurt. I'm not going to save that, so we'll just dump that in there. We got cinnamon, 1 3/4 teaspoons of cinnamon, which I always kind of find it entertaining when recipes call for 3/4 of a teaspoon. Like, just commit, man. Go all in. We're going to go all in. I'm actually going to do 2 teaspoons of cinnamon here. I think that cinnamon apples, apple crisp is one of the best smells that you can have, the best aromas you can have waving through your house when you make something to eat and to share. Let's see here. We have flour. We're going to go ahead and do our flour. Now, I don't go overkill on the flour. It calls for 3/4 cup. So I'm going to aim for that. Pretty close, less than a cup there. And I'm going to set this aside for just a moment because you're probably wondering, if you're new to baking, new to cooking, you're like, why do we have a lemon? The lemon juice helps keep your apples from browning as much. It brings the citrus, just kind of helps bring out the flavor of your apples as well. So I'm going to go ahead and roll this really quickly. This is a juicy lemon. It is a big lemon. The recipe calls for 1.5 teaspoons of lemon juice to sprinkle in and around your lemons. Again, gauge based off the lemons you have. Some lemons are not as juicy as others. I'm going to grab my strainer really quick. All right. I'm going to do this a little bit slowly because I have a lot of apples in that bowl. We recently cut up a huge watermelon and it is currently taking up my large bowls. So we're just squeezing into the bowls we got. I'm an easy peasy kind of cook. Use what you got on hand, make do. The fewest amount of dirty dishes is spectacular. Okay, so I have a few more apples over here on my plate, so I'm gonna go ahead and just sprinkle a few drops of the lemon there on those. Again, I'm only using half a lemon. This was a big juicy one. And we'll just let that kind of sit on the apples for a minute. Some people I know will actually add a dash of nutmeg into their apple crisp as well. I like to leave that out. I'm gonna go ahead and give this a stir. I cook my apple crisp at about 350 degrees in the oven. You can cook it a little bit hotter, but you don't want your mixture to burn. You don't want the top to burn, so I feel like cooking it slower helps the top part crisp up just nicely. Get this mixed in together real good. Now, I'm actually going to scoop out a little bit of this mixture, the dry mixture. Probably about half a cup, maybe 3/4 of a cup there. I'm gonna add some extra oats. This is gonna be for the topping. This is the part that's going to get crunchy. Mix that up a little bit in there. Okay. And then the recipe calls for half a cup of cold butter sliced, which is going to be a whole stick of butter. I use salted sweet cream butter. Use whatever butter you want, whatever butter you got on hand. Now your slices do not have to be by the tablespoon as on the little wrapper there. Just cut it however you like. I'm going to throw a few dabs here into the topping mixture. Probably 3 of those. The rest are going to get tossed into my big mixing bowl. Break that up. Mix this in. Using the spoon to kind of chop up the butter chunks just a little bit more. All right, we are ready to add our apples. I'm going to start with this little plateful here first. Get those in there. Grab some of these that are on top. I really should be using a bigger mixing bowl. I've just been doing a lot of cooking and baking, and then with that watermelon, out of the big dishes to use. So this is probably half of my apple mixture. This was actually only 5 apples instead of the 6 I told you to begin with. Some of my apples were really big. If you want another little secret hack that I'm actually going to use, because my bowl is a little bit on the small side, is to get a gallon Ziploc baggie. This is super helpful if you have a second set of hands. I don't today, so we're just gonna wing it. Second set of hands helps you just kind of dump it all at once into your baggie. Basically, you just toss your apples in, and then you would dump your dry mixture into the apples. Super duper secret of really good bakers: improvisation. It's the ability to improvise, whether it's with the ingredients you have on hand, maybe so you forgot something, you're a little short on something, so you got to swap for another ingredient, or maybe you're using grandma's kitchen, or you're at a friend's house and their ovens are different, stoves are different. All right, we're gonna dump that in here. Look at that. All that mixture in there. I'm gonna seal it shut. As you can see, this is my 5 apples. Most of those were big apples. Pretty much fills up that gallon Ziploc. And then it's kind of like when you have a meat marinade you got going on. Just work it in. If you got kids, they'll have a heyday shaking this all over. All right, we're gonna clean this up for just a minute. Go grab our baking dish. I've already pre-sprayed my baking dish. The oven is warming up to 350 degrees. This is a smaller baking dish. You can use a bigger one or use two if you have a lot. If you are interested in making apple pie, I'm gonna share with you another little baking secret. Make this same mixture that we just did, excluding the oats. You can keep the oats in if you want and use this as your apple pie filling. It tastes amazing. So we're gonna just dump this in. Spread her all around here. Oh yeah. Could have gotten away with that bigger baking dish, but it actually will all fit in here all right. So there we go. And then that mixture that we had that was nice, we added the dabs of butter on top. Mix that in here. And then we're gonna kind of just sprinkle your mixture here on top. You want cinnamon and oats along the whole entire top. You want the butter to kind of be spaced out a little bit. Perfect. Look at that. And then you're gonna bake this in your oven. I usually do mine for about 20-25 minutes. I keep an eye on it. I check it about 15 minutes to make sure temperature-wise nothing on top is burning. And then I just keep an eye every couple minutes and check on it until I feel like the top has really crisped and browned up just to the perfect amount. All right, the apple crisp is done. It smells amazing. I cannot wait to have this tonight for dessert after dinner. You could put a little ice cream with it on top and have that melt. Ooh. You could also, if your family likes oatmeal, you could make this and put your this as a topping in with your oatmeal and mix it in. You could put it on top of pancakes and waffles. There's so many things you could do with apple crisp. Guys, I hope you liked this recipe. Be sure to subscribe and stick around. We've got all sorts of fall recipes coming your way. Comfort food, things we got going on in a slow cooker, more baking recipes. We'll see y'all next time. Good morning. Welcome back to In the Kitchen with Grace. Today, I am back to doing some baking. It's getting close to Valentine's Day, and I thought I would share with y'all my recipe for cherry cinnamon rolls. This is great for Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Mom's birthday, when you want to make a sweet treat for your mom or wife. Honestly, my family likes to eat these any time of the year. I have a traditional cinnamon roll recipe that I will link to a little bit later. But I really like to bring out the cherries, which happen to be my husband's favorite. And then I'm going to put all of the ingredients in the description below along with the steps. To get started, we need to activate our yeast. And so I have 3 tablespoons of very warm water in my bowl. And I am going to add in 3 tablespoons of white sugar also. The sugar is what your yeast feeds on. And I have 1 packet of Fleischmann's Rapid Rise Instant Yeast. We're going to pour that in there, and I'm going to mix this in really well. I'm going to set this to the side, and we're going to let it sit for a good 5 to 10 minutes until it starts to get foamy and bubbly, and that's how we know that the yeast has been activated. I'm going to grab my big bowl, and we are going to start mixing our dry ingredients. And we are going to start with 1 3/4 cups of flour. I'm going to add in 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I'm going to add in 3 tablespoons of melted softened butter. And I'm going to add in 1 egg. Now we're going to give this a nice good mix. For my cherry filling, I am just going to use canned cherries. We do have 2 cherry trees in our yard, but it's winter, and so they very obviously are not producing cherries right now. They're in off season. But I do like to use fresh cherries as well sometimes. Taking the time to cut them and pit them can be a little time consuming, so I like to revert to the canned pie filling to make life easier. But it's been about 10 minutes or so, maybe not quite, and my yeast sugar water is nice and foamy at the top. I'm going to go ahead and add it into my flour mixture. Make sure we get all that out of the bowl. We are going to gently mix this. If you find that your dough is just slightly too dry, you can always add in a little bit more warm water. I would do it only 1 tablespoon at a time. Sometimes just, the size of your egg or the kind of butter that you use can change up the amount of moisture for your dough. I'm going to actually add in 1 teaspoon of water here. I want to gather up the flour, the remaining flour there on the bottom of my bowl. This is coming together pretty well. This recipe is slightly different from my classic regular cinnamon rolls with cream cheese frosting, homemade frosting, by the way. I am going to flour my hands up here just a little bit. I'm going to take my dough and I'm going to kind of clump it together into a ball. You should be able to pretty much just pick up your dough like I just did. I'm going to set that to the side. See, we got a little bit left on the bottom here, so I'm going to add just a little bit more water in there, and I'm actually going to just use my hand to kind of mix that in, and that should bring the remaining part of your dough together. Add that to the dough ball. All right, we are going to let this dough sit for about an hour. We want it to rise a nice amount, and so if your kitchen is nice and warm, you do not need to cover it. If your kitchen is a little bit cooler right now, like mine is because it's winter, you're going to want to probably cover up your bowl and maybe even find a warm place to set it, like maybe on a warm, the top of your oven. Turn your oven on just warm and then set it on top of your oven and kind of let it kind of warm up just a little bit. We'll come check up back with this in an hour and we'll get them cinnamon rolls going. All right, we are ready to roll out our dough. I'm going to flour up my rolling pin just a little bit. I'm going to roll this out into a rectangle. I'm going to kind of square up the edges just a little bit. Okay, I have got my pie filling. We are going to kind of just slather it on. It will spread, so to save a little bit on mess, don't go completely all the way to the edge. Kind of spread them cherries out. All right, we are going to roll our dough up very gently. I'm going to take my spoon and I'm going to just kind of scoop the extra cherry back into my can. We're going to use some of this cherry juice for our homemade frosting, so hold on to that. I'm going to grab my baking dish. I have sprayed my baking dish with cooking spray. We are going to do this very gently. Do not squeeze your dough, friends, because your cherry filling will come right out. And we're going to place our cinnamon rolls right into our dish. Preheat your oven to 350 degrees. All right, we're gonna go ahead and pop these in the oven at 350 degrees and bake them, for about 15 to 17 minutes. Every oven's a little bit different, so keep an eye on them. You don't want them to burn. These smell delicious. Cannot wait to eat them. While the cinnamon rolls are baking, we are going to make our cherry frosting. I am going to do about 2/3 a cup to a cup of powdered sugar. And I am going to do about 2 tablespoons of milk. We're going to use some of the cherry juice, the cherry pie juice, so that adds extra moisture in. And I'm not even going to measure. I'm literally just going to use my spoon, and it's okay if you get some cherries in there. And I'm just going to grab some of that juice out of there. maybe a 1/4 cup or so, and then we are going to use the hand mixer and mix this together. We've got our nice cherry glazed frosting. If you want to, you could add in about 4 ounces of cream cheese for a thicker cream cheese style frosting, but I'm going to leave that out this time, going for a little bit more of the glaze kind of frosting. We're going to wait for them cinnamon rolls to cool down, and then we will frost them and enjoy them. All right, we are ready to put our cherry glaze onto our cinnamon rolls. These smell heavenly. They are going to taste so good. There we go. Thank you all so much for watching and liking this recipe. I hope you all enjoy it, and we'll see you next time. Hello friends, welcome back. Today we are making dessert for the week. Yes, everybody loves a little sweet treat. We are going to do Texas sheet cake strawberry version. This is a cake mix or cake box mix recipe. Makes it super easy. We are going to use some fresh strawberries, which makes the frosting phenomenal. What we are going to do today, I have a strawberry cake mix, and I'm going to go ahead and put that into my bowl. I'm going to put all of the ingredients and the directions in the description below for you. We are going to add in 4 eggs. This recipe calls for 4 eggs. I'm going to grab a little bowl. I'm using farm fresh eggs. Rule of thumb, using farm fresh. Always crack them into a separate bowl instead of straight into your batter. Woo! That was a big egg. All right, the eggs are good, so I'm going to go ahead and add them into my cake mix. After the eggs, I'm going to grab my can of strawberry pie filling. Yum. Oh my goodness, we're going to add the whole thing right in. This cake comes out so moist. I absolutely love Texas sheet cake style desserts. If you know me, I love lemon flavored desserts. Lately I've done some mini lemon drop cakes. I did a lemon cardamom cake a couple months ago. We're just gonna mix the eggs and the canned strawberry pie filling right in. So I will link to some of my dessert recipes for you guys to check out. I love desserts. I've got a real sweet tooth. Oh yeah. Oh, it smells so good. This is an easy recipe for potlucks, taking to the office and sharing with coworkers, kids' birthday parties. It's just filled with so much flavor and it's so easy. I'm gonna go grab my baking sheet right here. I am using a regular 9 by 13 cake pan here. Sometimes you can do sheet cakes with like the low-edged cookie sheet pans, but that always makes me a little nervous that it's gonna rise up and spill over the edges. So I prefer to use traditional cake pan. You could totally use a round cake pan for this recipe too. All right, let's spread this out, get those corners. All right, we are gonna put this in the oven, bake it at 350 degrees. Oh, for maybe 20 minutes or so. I will check on it. You wanna use the toothpick test in the center. Toothpick comes out clean, your cake is fully baked, and we're gonna let that cool. We're also gonna work on our strawberry frosting. That is phenomenal. Love homemade frosting. We're gonna throw this in the oven and we'll check in here in just a bit. While our cake is baking, I am preparing the frosting, and I have a block of cream cheese and 1 cup of butter, which is 2 sticks of butter. I have them softening and warming up here at room temperature in a bowl. I have my strawberries that I have sliced, maybe 2.5 to 3 cups of strawberries here, and we are going to put those in a pot on the stove, boil them down. All right, we are going to put our strawberries right on in here. I'm going to turn my stove to medium heat, and we're going to kind of let these boil down. We're going to add this into our frosting. It is so good. Strawberries are boiling down. I have used my hand mixer and blended up the 2 sticks of butter and my 1 block of cream cheese. We're gonna start adding in some powdered sugar. Ooh, we gotta add our vanilla, friends. Let's add that in. You want about a tablespoon. I eyeball it. And you wanna do about 4 cups or so of powdered sugar. I think I might have only about 3. That's okay. We're gonna add in 1 at a time, and then we're going to mix it 1 cup of powdered sugar at a time. Our strawberries are getting there. I'd say they're about 2/3 of the way done. Feel free to go ahead and smash up some of your strawberry pieces if you would like to, or you can leave them in the little pieces that they are. All right, our strawberries are good to go. I'm gonna let these cool down completely. If you want to, you could put them in a heat-safe, cold-safe bowl and put them in the fridge for 15 minutes. I've got a little time, so I'm gonna go ahead and just let them cool off naturally. And then we're gonna add this to our frosting. So I have the frosting all mixed together here, except for the strawberries that we boiled down. Cake is in the process of cooling. I'm going to go ahead and add our strawberries right into the frosting. Gently kind of fold and mix these in to the frosting. All right, we are gonna go ahead and start frosting our cake. Whoa, yeah, this makes so much frosting, it's amazing. I actually ended up having exactly 4 cups of powdered sugar, which worked out perfectly, but you can see it makes a lot. So if you're a little short on the powdered sugar, do not sweat it. You will still have plenty of frosting here. Oh yeah. All right, we are gonna go ahead and let this harden up just a little bit, and we are gonna cover it, and then we will serve it with dinner tonight. It will be delicious. We'll eat it all week long. Here is our strawberry Texas sheet cake. The frosting is so phenomenal with the fresh strawberries in it, y'all. I couldn't wait until the frosting finished cooling. I had to get some slices for myself and the kids. to enjoy for our after school snack. I cannot wait to eat these. So delicious. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Hope you love this. I know your family is going to love this recipe. Thank you so much for sharing our recipes with your family and friends. If you're not already doing so, follow us over on Facebook, In the Kitchen with Grace. You'll recognize the strawberry icon. And we hope you all have an amazing day. We'll see you next time.